We've handed over our food security to someone else, and they're here to help you take it back. It's the Farm to Table Direct Show with Ryan and Keith.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Farm to Table Direct Show. Across the street over here is my brother Ryan.
Hey, everybody.
And I'm Keith, and in today's show, we're going to be talking about urban gardening and how you can get started, even if it's with something really, really small. And this is something that also my brother is experimenting with himself. He's getting his urban gardening started.
That's right. I currently live in a subdivision like many people do and have a small backyard, but wanted to try out some of these techniques and wanted to see how it would work. And we put a few videos out on our channel to kind of show you the beginnings of that. And there's an update that's going to be coming out real soon to show you where everything's growing. But yeah, we took and implemented things into just simply growing them in pots and containers that we had. And the most recent addition is a tire, just an old tire that I had. And I know that may not be environmentally friendly to some people, but it's recycling and repurposing for me. But we did 2 layers of potatoes in that, so we're going to try to get some fall potatoes. And so instead of going with Andy's tower like he did,
right, which we'll be covering.
Which we'll cover later.
Yeah.
And that was my original plan, was to do that. But anyway, plans sometimes change based on circumstances. And I got those in, and I said, you know what? I'm leaving that alone. That'll be enough for a first try to see how it goes. But things are progressing well. But yeah, I've only got, I think I measured off in a video, it's about 4 paces wide by about 5 paces deep. So, I mean, just not really big amount of space.
So, I mean, if you've got about 3 foot, you're talking about 5 paces. What's that, 15 feet by...
Yeah, I'm probably 10 by 15, 12 by 15.
A 10, 12 by 15 space. So it's a real small footprint.
Oh, yeah, very small.
And of course, I can attest, my brother is so busy, it's hard for me to even schedule time for him, or with him, I should say. And so he don't have a lot of time to put into a garden. No. And in our first segment here, we just kind of want to cover time and space requirements that are needed, because I know a lot of you guys out there, especially if you live in an urban area or an apartment area or whatever, you don't have a lot of space to to grow a garden. And like whenever I think garden, I used to think these like an acre worth of land and rows upon rows upon rows.
Well, right. We remember our father when we were children,
right.
When we were young, that we had 2 acres in the front, if I remember the measurements right. But either way, it was the whole backyard.
Right.
And then there was even a patch further back on the land for a while.
That's right. I remember that.
It was continuous work.
It was a lot of work.
A lot of work.
A lot of work that a young guy like me really didn't want to put in.
Well, you were a little older than me. For me, I was a young boy, and a young boy thinks that stuff's all fun and fine playing in the dirt.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to spend that much time playing in the dirt. And, time it's something that you can't buy more of.
Right.
There's only 24 hours in a day.
We have busy lifestyles today.
Well, I sort of say, but I'm saying is, everybody has that, I think, now, or it's more common that people are pulled in a lot of different directions. And I may be a little busier than some others, I don't know, but, that was a big consideration, was how much of my time is this going to take?
Yeah,
and
all of us.
By going to container gardening, it eliminated out having to weed as much. It eliminated out having to till and break up land and fertilize all that land and stuff, and that was a big thing. If I can put it in a container, I water it, I check the soil. Occasionally I might have to add some plant food or some fertilizer, and just keep an eye on it and let it do what it's supposed to do. And I spend literally just a few minutes in the morning checking them. I water them. Either myself or my wife will come back in the evening, check them again, see if they need water, see where they're at.
Right.
And that's it. Just a couple of times each day. Less time than I spend feeding my cats. Yeah. So, it really is a way that doesn't take a lot of time. And we've all got busy lives. That really is the point of that. And I've got as you say, I've got too many irons in the fire. I got a lot of stuff going on, and so to squeeze in time for that, I couldn't give 2 or 3 hours of my day
every day
to
right.
that. And that's a big thing, is just how much time do you have, and you've got to kind of ask that, and there's gardening tasks and based on how much time you have, and there's a website out there. It's lifehacker.com. They've got some stuff, and it's gardening tasks based on how much time you have. And what they talk about is just, if you've got 5 minutes, do a 5-minute project. If you've got 10 minutes, and they give a long list, and y'all can go check that out. But it's, you do basics in 5 minutes, watering, or you might pest control, just basic things like I do every morning. But if you've got more time, like I sometimes do on a Sunday afternoon, I'll spend a little bit more time working it. I'll move the pots so that I can mow the yard, because I still have a yard around all this. But that's where I invest that little bit more time, is when I have it, and the tasks are performed as I have time.
And is it mostly just like morning and evening for you?
For me now, it's morning, and it may not be me both times. I may water them in the morning, and she takes care of them in the evening based on our schedule.
Even better.
Right. So I've got a partner to share that with, but so it really is about doing a task that you have time to do. If you don't have time to do it, then it waits for another day. And that's why I like the container gardening, because it eliminated so many little things that you have to do when you're using the ground.
Right.
So that's a big deal for me, was that. And like I said, this Life Hacker, they gave some awesome little tips on how to do that. And I think if y'all want to go check that out, it says lifehacker.com. It says do these garden tasks based on how much time you have. And I mean, that to me, that was just it was an eye-opening way of doing things, to not stress myself trying to make time for something, fit it in the time I had. And so, but that's part of setting it up around your busy schedule. I mean, that's.
And as I looked at this article, one of the things I thought was pretty interesting is that in 2019, an American Time Use survey, people are spending anywhere from 1.5 to 2.5 hours in their gardening.
Right.
And I remember when I was growing up, our neighbor used to spend an awful lot of time in the evening and the morning in their gardening. Right. But they had a big garden.
Oh, yeah, very big garden.
But that's a little too much for me.
Well, I mean, even Dad, it was every day after work. It was every day. And, we just don't. Most people's schedules are such, if they've not set their life around that, they don't have those hours to devote to it. So it is important to find those times, and
right. So
it works for me so far. And we've got tomatoes growing and zucchini growing, and watermelon are starting to get little watermelons, little baby melons coming. So the others are still not time for them to quite bloom yet. I'm hoping the heat that we have here in this part of the country right now is
no kidding.
It's been a balance to watch the leaves and not let them get dehydrated. But,
right.
I was reading a post. A gentleman was talking about that it was too hot for he couldn't get his tomatoes to ripen. They were staying green because it was so hot. Mine are still green. So I'm just kind of watching to see what happens.
But then you're trying for a fall harvest.
Well, I planted mine later. All of my stuff is probably behind where everybody else is. I've seen people in the roadside stands with the things I've got planted already for sale. So I'm definitely later in the crop, but that's okay.
Right.
It was just timing of the situation.
So can you give us a little bit of how much time that it would need to, if you could do just a little at a time, can you kind of give us an idea about that?
Well, like what I did, went out the first day. We had went down to a local store. We bought starter plants that were already, ready. They were already grown up. The seed had already grown, so I didn't have to spend time bringing a seed out.
Right, germination.
Germination, because that takes a few weeks.
And going to seedling, right?
And you typically do that a few weeks before the last frost. So you do it indoors. So I didn't have to do that. Skip that step. And I even seen the other day, I was at a store, will not give them a shameless promo, even though I spent a lot of money there. But they had tomato baskets. It was in a big pot, had the I guess what would be the tower or the stakes already there. It was ready to go. They were going up. So all you had to do was literally buy it. Take
How
it
tall
home.
were they?
They were probably about 1.5 feet tall.
Oh,
but they were,
shoot. They were already going really good. How much was that, by the way?
I'll be honest with you.
Oh, you didn't look at the price.
I'm going back because I'm thinking about adding it to the...
Right.
And I will say, folks, that is one thing. We started off with just 2 or 3 things, just tomato, just a few things. And it's like, I'm constantly already now like, I want to add this, I want to add that. So there is that kind of thing to it. But yeah, I mean, I'm saying is that can save a person a lot of time. I mean, we bought starters, we moved them into a pot, had the soil, we bought bags of soil, put it in. And I think the first day setting up, honestly, actually planting, we might have spent an hour. Now I spent some time working on a table and doing some other things around what I wanted, but the actual planting process didn't take that long. And once we got them set in place, then it's just been watering and keeping an eye on the soil.
Right. Have you had any problem with weeds so far?
So far, I haven't, because they're in the pots,
right,
and they stay up off the ground. Now, an errant, a bee pollinates something and he comes over, or a bird has been out somewhere and he flies and something falls off his foot,
right,
and lands in your stuff. Well, you're going to get weeds. I mean, so even with the pots and stuff, it is a possibility, but but as I said, it works really well.
So in this article right here, it kind of breaks it down into like what you could get done in if you only had 5 minutes a day or 10 minutes a day in gardening or 30 minutes a day.
Right. Yeah. And it does. And like I said, that was kind of going back to what I was saying. Pick a project you can do in the time that you have available.
Yeah.
And if you have a day like I do usually if it's going to be a day, it's Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening, that I've got a little bit of time that it's like, okay, I can dedicate that to working around the bigger stuff that I need to do. But during the week when we're really running, yeah, it's, hey, can you water it today? Yeah, I got it. Okay. Or, hey, can you do this today? And we even share notes, we'll talk to each other. Hey, how are they doing? How do the plants look today? And so we do, it's become a thing we're enjoying doing together. But yeah, it takes very little time. And you just have to, if you got 5 minutes, 30 minutes, that's what you do. But,
Right. Well, here was some of the things that in your article that it was talking about some of the things that you could get done if you only had 5 minutes. Now, I read over it just kind of briefly there, and I was thinking, surely you can't do all of that in 5 minutes. Maybe it's pick one, and then do one a day or something like that if you've only got 5 minutes.
Several things, and that is it is pick something you can do in that time.
Right.
You can't, you obviously aren't going to weed and water and do all those things in 5 minutes.
Right. So you pick watering, you pick planting, pest control, cleaning it, which I guess means weeding it.
That's, and you're checking for bugs, you're checking for things like that. And checking the condition of the leaves.
Right.
And which I usually do that when I water.
And I guess if you were really good at it, especially if you're in container gardening, it probably wouldn't take you very much to do all of it.
It doesn't. Like I said, when I'm watering in the morning or in the evening, depending on which watering time I get. And I know there's varying opinions on when you should or shouldn't water, but one thing that I make sure is they're not going to be out of water. I don't try to drown them, but at the same time, with the heat that we've had, making sure they stay. And there's different soils you can buy that manage that water absorption better. And so it's paying attention to that when you buy your soil. I'm having to watch the calendar because some soils only have so many weeks of feeding in them, so then I'll have to go back and add plant food or fertilizer to that to continue to feed the plant. But yeah, when I'm watering them, I'm checking the soil. I'm looking for bugs. I'm looking at the leaves. I'm seeing how the stalks are doing. My zucchini plant, I had to add some more soil because it had pulled the soil down too far. So I had to add. Okay, well, that's a quick task. It doesn't take a few minutes.
So I think that no matter how much time you have, that, it's basically picking something that you're going to do today. And then maybe something you're going to do tomorrow, but continuously, do a little bit of something every day.
You're just spreading your work out to fit in the time that you have. And like I said, for me, that was, and even watching Andy, that was why container gardening mattered so much, because it does eliminate a lot of those chores that come with weeding and shoring stuff and having to till and having to do those things.
Well, we're fixing to show the audience an example of that, a video that I took with a buddy of mine who was gracious enough, thank you, Andy, for allowing me to do a little bit of an interview and show his garden.
Right.
And he's killing it.
Oh yeah,
I mean, he's straight up killing it.
I'm not gonna lie to you, I was absolutely amazed at what all he had gotten done.
Right. So I'm just going to go ahead and share that with you. And you know, Andy's busy. I know that. And so yeah, I mean, this is what he was able to do.
I'd like to point out here is that using a wicking tub or a system very similar to this, you don't have as high maintenance once you set it up, but there is a little bit of a cost. Of course, you know, natural ground is going to be more labor intensive, but not maybe as expensive to do. But you have to continue to weed a standard garden in the ground. But how much weeding have you done on this?
I haven't done nothing. I haven't done no weeding.
There you go.
And that's the beauty of it. And for people that live in the city or that have an apartment and have like a little balcony that's got 20 or 30 square foot, you can put a few of these out and, you know, make a salsa garden and just have you some fresh stuff. I mean, you can 5-gallon buckets. There's everything out on the internet for gardening. I got so many resources that I follow that we'd be here for 20 minutes talking about all the
Probably more than that,
problem because they're just extremely knowledgeable.
Right.
And you know, it is what it is.
Okay, in one of these buckets, Andy, roughly how much would it cost to make a wicking tub like this?
Well,
we're going to get more into that a little bit later, but I just kind of wanted to show you what my buddy Andy had going there. And he was about to get into how all of that stuff worked and how much it cost to get into that, and we're going to get into it later. But he was literally killing it with those wicking tubs.
Oh yeah, I was amazed at the amount of things that he had growing, and you know, I had already kind of went the path of the containers that we went with, which does require more watering because you don't have that source the way he does, and they're not as large as his.
Right.
But I was totally fascinated with it, and of course I want to watch Andy's progress and already seeing what that was on the video.
Right.
And it's like that's my next year target. Is to travel that path with those wicking tubs, because that's just one more thing I don't have to spend time doing. And it also, as we see with Andy, he had it on the back of a trailer.
Right.
So for him, it's mobile. He can move it.
Right, and it was basically 40 square feet.
Right, it was.
It was just a really small little footprint.
It was just a little 5x8 trailer, so about 40 square feet.
Right,
and had those pots stacked there, and they were all together. So his watering takes just literally a few minutes, and with the wicking tubs, hardly any at all. And he can look over everything. He doesn't have. One of the things I liked about his that I haven't accomplished and I want is he don't have to bend over. He don't got to get down on his hands and knees, or he don't have to bend over and get down on the ground.
Right.
It's up at a height that
he did put it up at a level that he just has to walk around and take care of it. And I thought that was really nice, and I'm about to show you the trailer setup and what he's been able to accomplish here.
Right, and like I said, the space is that takes up is really small. And like I said, that, as he pointed out, you know, it doesn't take a lot of space. So, yeah, if you've got where you're talking about that, that's kind of where we're moving next to it here, folks. It's moving into space.
Can you share a screen over there for me?
Now we're setting right toward.
Okay, having a little technical difficulty here. I'm going to go back over and reopen that up. Of course, my controls is on the glitz here. Can you do a share screen? Okay, there we go. Now we're up to share screen. So yeah, again, this is Andy's garden. We're going to go back to him,
well, I said it's about space, and
Yeah.
that's what he's talking about. It's just being
Exactly
able to do it in a
right.
small space, and you're going to see this, folks. It is quite an amazing amount of food in a small
I was impressed.
space. Here we go.
But here was something that really impressed me. Now, we're setting right toward the end of May. When did you put these out?
We planted me and a friend of mine, Tom, started these seeds in February. And then we fostered them and he fostered them. And then we planted everything, all the tomato plants and the bell pepper plants, April 30th.
Right.
And today is May 27th.
Right. And you showed me a picture a little early, going to show on the people. You're supposed to send it to me.
I did.
And, okay, thank you. And
That's where it began.
Right, there's that trailer. You see how small that is. People's balconies are bigger than that most of the time.
Right at the end of May. And this is what it looks like. And you'll be able to compare and contrast how far they've come in roughly around 30 days or so. A 1 month period. Yeah, it's really quite amazing. And
So that's how far. I am shocked
Oh, yes.
at how much. Now, I do know that, that they did take it all the way from germination into
Right, they
seedlings,
did the
and
entire
and that
process.
took quite a while.
Yeah.
And I think that
Well,
they're
that
probably
was,
working on that.
That was
But
probably late February, early March, and he was into April, because we had a late frost this year and
right,
stuff. And so
yeah, that's right.
that's the thing with, when you start with the seedling and you move it all the way through, you do spend more time fostering them up to a certain point. And, versus like what I did where I bought a starter and it was just ready to go. But yeah, was a great example of a very small space containing a whole lot of food.
Right, 40
and-
square feet.
And made it easy for him to take care of it.
Right.
And so he's not Andy does other things on his
Right.
place. And
Well,
so,
he's got other things. He's got actually a large acreage, but
Right.
he was
Yeah.
also very interested in time-saving steps
right.
and
And that's important. And space saving. 'Cause
and space saving.
he's got, like I said, he's got what I want. That's the mobility. He can move that if he needs
Right,
to.
yeah.
Whereas mine, I got to pick them up and move them if I want to. And that's
I mean,
easy.
like right now in Oklahoma, the heat index is insane.
Oh, yeah.
Right now, and he has the ability to relocate that by just hooking onto it and pulling that trailer to wherever he feels like the plants are going to
Do the best.
do the best. Right.
And, and so, folks, you've seen, growing food in small space. I mean, that's really what that was, and showing you just how little of a space, and I know he has onions and tomatoes and lettuce, and he's got a salad on the back of that trailer. I mean,
Basically, yeah.
Now, so, and that kind of leads us to that next question, and you're probably asking it yourselves, is what if you don't have that space? I mean, what if you don't have 40 square feet? What if you don't have a balcony or a backyard at all? I mean, no place where you can do it. And one of the biggest things is community gardens is a big thing within the urban areas. And even over where I live, there's one or two, I think, that are active. And the USDA actually puts out some pretty good information. We don't always agree with the USDA and Mr. Vilsack and company, but
Oh yeah.
but they do.
Don't get me
occasionally-
started.
Yeah, but they do put out some good information, and just kind of give you their thing. Gardens are plots of land, like I said, urban areas. They're rented by individuals or groups. They're private, or they're a benefit of the people caring for the garden. Now, one of the things with that is whoever sets up the garden, and the University of Georgia actually did a study, and I don't have it here, but they put out a whole lot of information on the process of setting up community garden, and who's in charge and what's the rules and who benefits and are we sharing and that type of thing. But the biggest thing is it allows the community to participate in local food production, provides diversity to the food supply chain, and you learn to benefit local agriculture, and it helps build that community we talk about. If you get with a group of people and you're working on a common garden, but there's a lot of information there on their website about it, a startup guide, and that type of thing. But it is really a neat thing. And I know even when I was in the military, different places, there would be things on the base where you could get on the sign-up list and you could get a space and get you a little place if you wanted to do that. I never honestly took advantage of it, but it was there. I seen it. I knew people who did do it, and so that's just a resource that you can seek out, and may already be existent in your area where you're at. Just do a little homework and find that area where you can get into that community gardening, because it is a neat way for everybody to share a set of space that benefits everybody potentially, depending on how the rules are set up.
And I just wonder about. I mean, I've never done it. As a matter of fact, I'm kind of new to the concept of community gardening, but I guess that whatever you grow belongs all to you, or is it a share type thing? It all depends
on the setup of the garden, and whoever's whatever person or people are in charge of that garden and how they set up the rules, and if you agree to it or not. Your space that you take care of, and it's usually a raised bed or something like that, but your space
that's nice.
that you take care of is yours. What's there is yours, and that's yours. Others set it up to where it is everybody who's on that group shares what's being grown. You may grow this thing, and they may, or this vegetable.
Oh, I see.
They may grow this vegetable, and
you're in charge of the tomatoes, you're in charge of the lettuce, and everybody gets together and kind of shares it
amongst the people who are in it. And that really does get into they literally talk about rules and bylaws and agreements.
I'll be honest with you, bro. I don't think that's for me. If whatever I grow in my garden, I'll share whatever I've got, but I don't want to assign somebody to grow to grow tomatoes or things like that. I can only see that would lead to a little bit of disagreements or something like that.
What it does is it takes willingness. You can't just open it to Joe down the street who doesn't want to play if you're going to do it that way. Everybody has to be on board with that, and they understand coming in it's part of the agreement. Now, if it's one that's set up to where your garden bed is your garden bed and what you grow is what you grow, if you choose to trade and share, that's between you and that other individual.
Okay, and I'm down with that.
It's all a matter of how it's set up, who did the setup, and what their desired goal was. So it's a neat thing, though. But it's just one avenue, folks. One of the things we talked about before, we've mentioned it. And that's gardening with a friend or a neighbor's space or somebody that has a little bit of land or space or something that they can use, where you all, share, they provide the land and the place and you do the work, or share the work or whatever. But it's getting together with somebody that
like, let's just say, for example, you're living in an apartment space, but you may have a friend that has, an urban space, and they've got a backyard, a reasonable backyard, and you could probably work out some kind of a deal with them, that you just basically share the crop with them once it's, the harvest is done.
And like I said, that's not it. I mean, it does take somebody, that you fostered a relationship with somebody, and it helps build community as well. But that is definitely an easier avenue sometimes, because now you just got two people involved instead of a larger group or whatever. And thus it being on private property and that type of thing. But like I said, again, just an option if you don't have space where you're at, that you can consider other options and to go there. Now, I think it's cool anytime guys, gals, people can get together with a shared goal, and do the work, and they build that bond of doing that work together. And then there's that community, and then there's that shared, the shared bounty, if you will. You both get the satisfaction of the fruits that you put in the ground, and the work and the labor that you put in, sitting on your table in front of you, and you get to say, by grace, I did that. We planted this, and it gives you a sense of, and what I'm getting even out of my own is a sense of ownership, a sense of pride. I'm now invested.
I grew that,
exactly. I'm invested in those plants now,
right?
Mentally and such, that I want to see them. Not only do I want to taste them and eat it, of course, that's the reason I'm growing it, but I want to see them do well. I want them to grow. I want them to flourish. And so it's kind of taking that on.
Is it true that food that you've grown yourself tastes better?
I think so. But, because...
I mean, I know that vine ripened tomatoes, but I'm just wondering about the psychological aspect of the...
Well, I think it's...
of growing your own,
necessarily taste better, but there's a satisfaction.
Right. And that's,
Yeah, there's a difference in the satisfaction.
Yeah, and I think so. I mean, like if you say, I grew that, and when you taste it and it really turns out good and everything, or in my case, I don't have such a green thumb, I'd be like, I grew that.
Well, we're finding out that, maybe we're okay at this. I mean, it's, now I will say that, it's in the details of planting, but it does matter. You talk about satisfaction. You say, I grew that.
Yeah.
A previous gardening attempt in my life, I had certain things can't be planted near each other. There's compatibility.
Right.
And
there's an art form to this.
There is. And I had some things that were too close together that shouldn't have been, and they cross-pollinated.
Oh, wow.
And so I had a cucumber and squash that didn't quite taste right because they
were sharing each other's DNA or something.
Or, the bees were doing what they were doing, whatever.
Oh, okay. I see.
But either way, they cross-pollinated.
Is there a guide to something like that?
Well, there is. The Farmer's Almanac, believe it or not.
Well, there you go.
I mean, that time-tested, proven thing, and it's a companion planting guide.
Let's just pull that up real quick.
You just go to thefarmersalmanac.com, and it's a companion planting guide, and so I mean, and that's exactly what it is, and I love that since 1818. But it's just it's that one there that it pulls up is a list of 10 most popular vegetables to grow along with their friends and enemies. So it's like it does give you like tomatoes and what can it can grow with basil. They go together, and and the basil actually helps repel flies and mosquitoes. So which is cool.
I've heard that. Yeah.
Yeah, and so but other friends like asparagus, carrots, celery, the onion family, lettuce, parsley, spinach. But where like cabbage and peas or corn and tomatoes both suffer from a worm, and excuse me, tomatoes and potatoes are affected by the same lights. Keep these plants separate. I mean, it's all those little guides that honestly I didn't know. The first time I grew a garden, I had no idea about this.
Right.
So to learn it the hard way by biting into something that looked really delicious but didn't quite taste right.
Right.
But it's like I was telling you earlier when we were just talking. We planted sunflowers in our cucumber pot. Now we just planted them, so they haven't begun to produce yet. But during the time that they're seedlings, the leaves from the cucumber plant protects them, and then as they get bigger, then they protect the cucumber plant. But it also sweetens the cucumber.
I think that's amazing.
Which is amazing. Now, here's the other thing, and this is a reason, folks. Now, listen, if you've got a little bit of space, you're going to plant some sunflowers. I didn't think much about planting sunflower, but it's a huge pollinator. So the bees and stuff like that come to it.
Oh, I see.
And they carry that pollen, so it helps not only your garden but it can help others.
Other people's garden.
Right.
And I didn't even really, consider that, whenever you grow something, you're actually helping nature to do its job.
Right. And it is. It's connective, that whole thing. And so that's what I said. It does literally you're helping your neighbor down the road that you didn't know you was helping, or the little old lady down the street that likes to grow her.
I mean, it makes sense.
That likes to grow her flowers for decoration.
Yeah.
You're still helping her too, because those bees are pollinating. And
You know, on that note, I'll add something here, that because what you said reminded me, you know, about our neighbor down the street who's growing flowers and everything. You know, ever since this whole issue of you know, doing your own garden and everything came up with us, it's been every time I drive by and I see all those nice, pretty flowers, and I love flowers and I love the way that they look, but I'm thinking, man, you could be growing some food in that baby.
Right. Well, you know, we've talked about that, you know, different places where, you know, and I've seen it too.
Yeah.
They spend all this time planting flowers or planting
Right.
things that are pretty to look at, which is great. I'm glad they're out there.
Yeah.
You know? And it's an art. There is a science to it and an art to it, but yeah, I mean, like I said, because of what we've started doing in the last, you know, few months, it's
You
like
could grow some food in that space.
the brain takes a different path.
At least
of
split it up
you know,
or something.
And when I talk to people who don't have any inkling about gardening or any idea about it or even care, honestly, about it, and they just look at you like, okay. But then you get in that conversation with that person who has a shared interest. I now find enjoyment out of reading other people's posts, you know, groups I follow on Facebook, where their fruit's out or their produce out, and they're talking about, like that guy was saying here, talking about his tomatoes haven't ripened yet because it's too hot. So they needed to come off the plant because of their size, but they weren't.
see.
So he said, okay, we're just going to do we're going to green tomatoes.
Fried and green
And
tomatoes.
so he adapted to the situation. But so it was interesting to watch, and looking at the size of his squash that he's got for sale at the farmer's market, and so wow, you know. So I mean, it's you get interested in what others are doing as well. And so,
Like, how do they do that?
How did you
know,
do
I
that?
see these pictures of giant fruits and vegetables, and I'm like, how do you do that?
well, it's water, it's soil, it's fertilizer.
Well, they know it, and I mean, it's a science. It is science, right?
It is science.
It's just like Andy said in one of the videos. It's a science, a huge science project.
It is, and if y'all knew me and my wife, you would understand how little bit of time we really want to spend on those things. We plant things. The flowers or whatever we've planted in our property are low maintenance things. We
Right.
don't have to spend time.
Well, that's
on.
part of the science of it too, though, right?
But so we know that about ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, and I joke,
Knowing yourself.
and you should. But I joke we've had some things that live despite us. You know, so yeah, you need to know yourself and you need to know what's going to work. But let's jump right quick, bro. I mean, we've hit a lot of time. Let's talk about some supplies and equipment, because I mean, it's great to want to do this, but you got to know what you need.
Right. I'm going to go back to a video and where me and Andy's talking about the wicking tubs.
Right.
And kind of I think this is the one to where he breaks down the costs and how it's made.
Right.
And it's really simplicity.
Yeah, I was amazed.
And the more you understand it, or the more you take time to understand it,
Right.
the more time it's going to save you. And the more food it's going to make you.
Right, and that's important, because I mean, if it becomes a chore, if it becomes a slave project, you're not going to enjoy it as much. So the more of that side you can take out of it, the more enjoyment you're going to get in the process, and the more you're going to enjoy the fruits of that.
Yeah, that's right. But I'm going to go ahead and share that screen right now.
Okay.
And let's just kind of take a look at, again, at Andy's.
Well, yes. Okay, in one of these buckets, roughly how much would it cost to make a wicking tub?
Well, the thing is sometimes you can find the buckets for nothing from farmers that have cows. As you can hear, I have cows out here, and you can get them buckets for nothing, or you can find somebody to sell them. I think I paid $6 for the orange and the blue one.
Right.
And
$6 for a bucket.
$6 for a bucket. And then you got, a minimum cost in a piece of PVC, and I use the one in PVC. And then you've got a little bit of cost in the French drain material, probably $2 a foot. $2 so there's 10 bucks. There's 5 foot there.
Mm-hmm. So you got $10 in your French drain.
Yep. $1, $6. Okay, so there's
$16
$16.
so far. And then you got your material,
Your potting mix, and that's what you gotta use, the potting mix. You can't use a potting soil, because potting soil is too heavy, and it won't react the right way. But the potting mix, is, basically 2 cubic feet. We'll put it up about where you need it. A little more is better, but for the most part, I know they're $11, so yeah, you're $27. You're $27 into that.
okay,
For a real easy system to use.
right,
Now you can buy an earth box. Earth box makes them, and they're $35 or whatever they are on the website.
right.
And Home Depot sells a similar product that works the same way. But for somebody that's kind of a DIY person, or it's just cost effective to do that. And I went hard this year. I mean, I've got 18 wicking tubs in play right now.
Yeah, he's got 18.
They're all killing it. I mean, they are working really well. I use the planting method from Leon on his website, and it's just very little bit of amendment that you got to do to the soil to give it what it needs. Also,
You're talking about this minerals.
yeah, the mineral.
Basically the fertilizer.
Yeah, but for the most part, he was saying that he's using tubs. He's used tubs for 9 years.
I mean, for $30, and all you have to do is reconstitute the soil. You don't have to change the soil or anything in the bucket, but you just have to basically re-add back in the nutrients.
The nutrients that the plants took away from the potting mix.
Right. And there was one other thing that I remember that you was talking.
So, yeah, I mean, 18, and he says all 18 of them were killing it. You would think that if you planted 20 plants, that maybe two or three would fail on you at least,
Right.
And but that wicking system, he said he was just killing it.
Right, and which we didn't show that here, and folks, you can check this clip out on YouTube and those places like that where we have it posted, but it really gets in. And one of the things I was amazed was when he showed his onions.
Yeah.
And because certain things require a certain amount of water, but not too much water, and that's the beauty of that wicking tub, is that it regulates the amount
You can't
of water.
get too much
You
water
can't
in
get
it.
too much, and he shows in that video his onions, and I like onions.
Yeah.
I didn't plant any this go around, but I like onions, and so it's like, okay, that's on the list, and it's going to be done that way because, as he pointed out, the amount of rainfall that we can get at one time in this area will kill those type of plants.
Right.
It just destroys them because it's too much water. So I think that's good. But the fact was with that wicking tubs, is it's just low cost. I mean,
Right.
if you do that times 18, you got a little more money.
Well, but remember,
at the
that's an
amount of time.
one-time upfront expense.
Right, yeah,
You
the
can start with one, you can start with 3 or 4,
Right,
and then just grow over time if
but
if
the
that's an
cost,
issue.
for me, was how long that system can potentially last.
Right.
That. So I mean, this is a recycle, reuse, repurpose kind of.
Right. This was he had learned this from gardening with Leon.
Right.
And he said that gardening with Leon, said that he had used one of those wicking tubs up to 9 years.
Right. I don't even
That's a
remember 9
long
years.
time. Yeah.
I mean, I do, but that's one thing. Now, and like I said, I like the way Andy's space is set up. It really inspired me with some of my future plans and stuff. But it was like, let's, now one of the other ways, and I know you're going to talk some more about this as we get into it, vertical gardening.
Right.
I've seen, and I don't know what, we'll watch this video here in a second, but one of the things I just seen recently was people take, now these are for small things like herbs and things like that, but they'll take a pallet and set it up sideways. And
I've
then they'll
seen
put
that. Right.
different pockets on that, and it grows.
Right. And this is all your herbs and spices or whatever. Yeah.
Now, something that I've seen recently, and I don't know how old this is. This may not be old, or it may not be a new thing, but I just recently seen it. And I wish I had it here. I didn't bring it up. I forgot. But It's potato sacks. It's potatoes planted in a sack with soil and dirt and everything, and it's a sack of, once they grow, it's a sack of potatoes. I mean, it's...
Oh, that's new. I haven't heard of that.
I just seen it the other day, so I hadn't had time to really dig into it, but it was just like, a sack of, and you buy it, it's ready to go. I mean, it's like...
Oh, you're holding out on me, bro.
Bro, I know. We talk about these resources, and we'll get back to them, but it's something, every time I go to the store, or I'm looking, I'm trying to find something new. I'm looking to see what's out there.
Right.
Because it's curious to me, whether I do it or not. I'm just curious about it now, because it's like...
Be careful. You may begin to enjoy gardening.
It's a possibility. It could be dangerous, but hey, that's okay. That means I get to eat. But let's talk about this vertical learning.
Yeah, I'm about to share the screen here with you. This is...
sorry, folks.
Must be a timer.
No. It's something wrong with it.
Now,
But this is
as far as gardening,
an example.
you do have options. Shared this tunnel in my last video, but I know a lot of people are like, well, I don't have the space and I really need to grow. And of course, they didn't have these towers or a lot of containers like this to plant in during the Great Depression, but this can be a great way to grow a lot of food if you don't have a lot of in-ground space and you're trying to use just the space that you have in a patio or a deck, because you can go 5 tiers high with a vertical planter like this. And of course you can see I have got my herbs in here. This is holy basil, and then I've got my strawberries, which, look at those, you guys. Woohoo! First strawberries, I'm super excited, coming on quick. If you're interested in this, I have a link. I'm an affiliate for them, and you can get a coupon code to get that off, and you can check out those, and I'll put that in the video description below.
So there you go. I mean, you've got this vertical. Right. You know, if you don't have much space, I mean, I would think that this would sit on a balcony,
absolutely.
Of an apartment even,
right.
I could see that if a person got like really interested in that and you had only urban space, man, you could do a lot of little things with that. I mean,
absolutely.
You probably have to pick and choose what you grow in there, but.
Well, those towers, like where she's got that kind of a tower where things are stacked on top of each other and they each got their own pocket, and you can grow a lot of stuff there. And of course, go back to the compatibility chart to make sure you put things together that work together.
Well,
but
yeah,
there's a lot there, and of course, like I was talking about, like the pallets, and the other thing is like hanging baskets. You can do tomatoes and stuff hanging. They actually, a lot of your like nurseries or supply places will sell the bucket with it already planted, and you hang it and the tomato literally grows down.
Right. And that's kind of growing, instead of growing out or up, you can actually allow certain things to grow downward.
But again, it's
still a vertical type of.
It's still space saving.
Right.
And it's something you can do, but I mean, based on your sunlight and that type of things, of course, but it's still something you can do in a small amount of space.
Right.
And requiring very little effort.
I'm thinking, now she had strawberries in this little vertical tower here, and I thought, well, that's kind of cool.
A strawberry plant, and that ain't. I don't know what she's going to get.
How much are you going to get out of that? But if you had herbs.
Now the herbs and spices is really
could probably do pretty good in there.
Right.
And especially if you could get into things that you could just clip off of and it could just continue to grow.
That's the thing, like garlics and like basil and that type of thing. Right? They're leaves or they're a cluster, and you can just take that off and go on, because I know that's something I have grown before with herbs and stuff, and it is nice to get that leaf of that plant, that basil, whatever, grind it up and sprinkle it on your food, and it came right out of the shook out of it,
and it's fresh too.
And it's fresh, and it's got all of its.
It's got the power.
It's got the power. I loved having fresh garlic, where I could put it in a garlic press and put it on. It was great. But,
absolutely.
And folks, a lot of these resources are available. I mean, online. I mean, you Google, DuckDuckGo, whatever your choice of search is. But then also your local farm and garden stores. Your local your farmer co-ops, if you have those in your neighborhood, or nursery or places like that. They have a lot of these resources. What kind of tools, equipment you might need, or what kind of planting options you may have, and and which we're not going to get too far into it, but I mean, it's, it is going back to talking to people who do it.
Right.
They can tell you some amazing tricks and amazing little things, or like even like her website, where you get that modern homesteading and that type of thing. It's little tricks that were passed down that could save you on not buying unnecessary equipment. I mean, it's like,
right.
You go out to do something and you don't know what you're supposed to buy, and you buy everything, but then you end up with a lot of stuff sitting around you didn't need.
Right.
So do your homework.
I have forgot, and I don't want to, be, rude to anyone or not give them credit where credit's due. But that vertical tower idea came from Melissa K. Norris from Modern Homesteading, and I just want to give a shout out to her and say thank you for that.
For that little clip, and that was, those folks that are doing it, I mean, that are putting the videos out and stuff, I mean, that's where you learn, and take their tips, and a lot of times they'll share their failures so that you can learn from that too, things that just didn't work.
Right.
But, take advantage of those online resources. Take advantage of the local resources.
Right.
Go get your Farmer's Almanac. It's amazing the information that's in there, and how much time it can save you, and aggravation.
So, how do you know what to grow?
That's a question that's got a few points to it. I mean, what to grow and why do you grow it? I mean, one of the things you need to consider is where you live.
Right, a zone. Like we live in zone 7 here.
Right, and so you need to look, there's, the USDA again. They have a... You got a
link there, don't you? Okay, we'll just share screen on that.
Okay, see if I can find that. Here it goes. I'm having to bring it up on my own. Okay. There it is. Okay, I already had it. But, that's fine. Maybe. Okay. Yeah, there's a zone map. Anyway, the USDA has a zone map. That's all you got to do is pull that up. Just go, it's planthardiness.ars.usda.gov. And just Google, plant zone.
I see it's color coordinated.
Right, it is color coordinated. It'll give you a little chart, and it'll tell you the temperatures and that type of thing. And there's other charts that can go with that. This is the Plant Hardiness Map. And so you can, even in your own state, there's ways you can go that. But it's amazing. It'll tell you the temperature ranges, and there's even some other stuff. This is a pretty cool one here, where it gives you, like you said, the color coded. And you look to the chart to the right, you've got the different temperatures.
Temperatures, right?
Because some plants grow better than others. There's also some other maps and stuff that are available. Where you can look at things and by state and region, you can pull these maps up. Okay, we're in. Let's see. It'll tell you what resolution of things. It gives you a full zone. Anyway, it's a whole lot of stuff, but it's amazing the information that's out there, because you need to know what grows in your area.
Right.
For example, bananas or oranges don't traditionally do well in our area.
Right, of course not.
Because we're not climate.
It's not tropical.
Right.
Yeah.
So knowing that, now I happen to like oranges, but I can't grow them. Now, greenhouse or something like that, I could, in a particularly properly artificial environment.
Yeah.
But typically, it's not something that's going to grow here. However, there has been some success with bananas here. I've had known some people that were able to do it, but they really had to
Did they get the actual bananas? I've seen the banana trees around, even in our zone.
I've seen the plant, but I've never seen the fruit.
But I've never seen the fruit.
Whereas then some things do really well in this environment.
Right.
So I mean, that's a big part of it is knowing what area you're from.
Right. That's pretty cool. And again, folks, that is at planthardiness.arsusda.gov, and it would profit you greatly to go out there
absolutely.
and see which zone that you're in, and then
see the information that's out there.
Right.
And like I said, I mean, if you just simply Google, plant zones, and it'll give you a list of resources out there, different maps and things of that nature that you can tell you kind of what's going to, what's good in your area, what your temperatures are, and what zone. And when you go buy plants and stuff, if you buy starters or you buy things, or even you buy a seed packet, on the back will be the guides,
the information
to which zone and when you should plant it and how long it will grow for and how many hours
Right.
of sunlight it needs, and all that information will be on there to help you out with that.
So start with good information.
Start with good information.
You know, it will take time for you to to learn what it takes to grow good, healthy plants. However, every journey worth taking starts with a single step, right?
Oh, absolutely. And it's, like I said, I was sharing earlier about compatibility and my trial by error.
Oh, yeah, sure.
But it didn't discourage me. I mean, it was just, well, okay, next time don't do that.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of that, but I think that you might surprise yourself at how much you'll be able to do with just a little.
Well, that's what I said. If I'd have done a little homework, I would have known that. But another thing you can do is talk to farmers in your area. Talk to people around that are already doing it. They can tell you what grows well. But I'll be honest with you, the number one thing, grow what you like to eat.
Right. Grow what you like to eat.
Because I'm not going to grow something. I'm not going to spend energy growing something that I'm not going to eat. That's just me.
Right.
If I'm not going to want the product at the end, I'm probably not interested in putting the effort and the labor in. And that's and choose,
right.
That's just a simple one there.
Right.
Do I want to eat what I'm planting? Because if you don't like squash,
right,
why plant squash?
Well, unless you're just going to do it because somebody else in your family does.
Well,
you want to share it with people. You just want to see if you can. All of those things are great.
All those things are great, but typically, especially if space is a consideration and time is a consideration, narrow it down to things you're going to consume.
Right.
And it kind of goes to the next. Choose things according to your available time and space.
Right.
And,
like, for example, if you don't have room for vining things that's going to grow out in a large pattern, of course you couldn't choose that. Watermelon, for example.
That's what I was about to say. I've got a watermelon plant.
Yeah.
I didn't, and
you've got space for it.
I've got the yard to let it
You're
grow.
urban.
I've got a backyard. But it has those vines, and if you watch the video when we get up later, it'll show you they are spread all out. I had to make, it travels, and you need to be aware of that plant. Some plants, if you need a trellis or you need something for it to climb,
right,
or that type of thing, and there's a lot of that. But you got to be aware that if you're on if you've got 40 square feet, a watermelon's probably not going to be your...
Yeah, that's not going to do well in unless that's all you want. And then, even then you're going to have to...
You have to move them and you're going to have to watch what you do.
Yeah, but there's a lot of plants out there that will grow in small square footages. Most likely plants that you're going to like. So
your salads will grow in a small space.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a tomato guy. I like tomatoes. I like squash. We fry up squash, different things. And
you from the South?
Just a little bit, but it's so I like those things. So I'm going to grow them. I like okra, so I'm going to grow it.
Yeah, me too.
I like watermelon. More importantly, whether I like it or not, other people and the wife likes it, so we're going to grow it.
Sure.
Potatoes are a staple.
Right.
So I'm going to try, and if it works, I'm going to grow potatoes. So.
I'll tell you something that's remarkably easy, and my wife does this every year. I like green onions.
Right.
A lot of people, some people don't, but I particularly like a green onion. And that doggone green onion, you plant it and it comes up. You clip the leaves. If you plant a pretty good sized bucket of them, you clip those top leaves, and that thing just keeps coming back and coming back and coming back. It's like this endless supply. Right. And so I like things like that. The Romaine lettuce that Andy was showing us was another one of those. He said he gets hungry for a salad. He goes out and he snaps off a few leaves off of that plant, and he's got a salad, and it grows back.
Right. Oh, that's the thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, like, it hasn't got there, but like my okra plant, now as that grows, as that begins to bloom and produce, my time investment with it will increase, because you have to stay on the pruning process with those, because if you don't watch out, it will be 6 foot tall, and you'll have okra that are huge, and then they're not as good.
Right. Yeah.
So as it begins to grow and produce, it will require a little more of my time, but I like okra. So,
Right.
And for those of you that are not from this part of the country and don't know what okra is, you're missing one of God's great gifts. But
For sure.
but it's but it is a plant that is hardy. It grows well in sun. And
Yeah,
dry.
it does very well.
It's a very hardy plant,
Yeah.
and it produces. And once it starts, man, it'll take off. But again, those are things that you just need to think about. Your time and space, what you like to eat. What's going to grow best where you're at.
Right.
And I mean, those three simple things will make your entire gardening experience better.
Right.
But the most important is gathering information, whether it's online, whether it's talking to people in your area.
Right. Do a little advanced research
Do
on
some
it.
homework on it.
Yeah.
And that will save you some headache.
Right.
And it will also build community.
Let you know what fits you, your personality.
Right.
Yeah.
And what you're.
Right, bro. We better get this thing wrapped up.
I think so.
We're just over an hour.
I think we've about nailed it down. I think we've kind of
Right.
hit the thing, and so we can kind of begin to kind of transition. Yeah, folks. I mean, I'm glad you tuned in today. I hope it works. Biggest thing that we can do is realize that it'll take us all to protect our families and communities, and only we can do that. And hopefully, we're providing the information that is helpful to you and entertaining as well. Please tell your friends and family to tune in. You can listen to us on iHeartRadio and Spotify. You can watch us on YouTube and Rumble. And also check us out on Facebook. We're there. Check us out with that. You can email us at farm-to-table-direct@protonmail.com with any questions or comments. Visit our website, thefarm2tabledirect.show.com. If you're a producer, please contact us so we can add you to our database of producers that we're trying to build. And bro, until the next episode, prepare for the unexpected
And keep it local.